Hello YouTube! I suffered a very severe ovarian cyst rupture about 2.5 weeks ago that left me in the hospital with internal bleeding in my pelvic cavity. I did not have to get surgery. This has led to me going on my own hormonal journey in order to get answers to the questions that no medical doctor can seem to answer for me. Such as, why do we get ovarian cysts that grow so large to the point in which when they rupture they cause internal bleeding? So what causes severe ovarian cyst ruptures? And how can I prevent them? I wanted to make a video about this because this is a question that I have that I know so many other women need the answers to, because I've had 14 women reach out to me sharing their horrific stories about how they had to go to the hospital because they too experienced the same thing as me. Had a very severe ovarian cyst rupture that was so painful to the point that they thought they were going to die. Internal organs were coming out of them, and it put them in the hospital for a few days, only for a doctor to give them Tylenol and send them home, or for them to put a drain in and surgically remove the blood and fluid that came out. And then you're left with not really knowing how to prevent them again in the future, or why you even got them in the first place. So I think this education is very, very important, and if you are someone who has had a ruptured ovarian cyst before, I want you to pay close attention to this. And I also want you to educate the women around you about this topic, because this is not talked about enough and it needs to be talked about. And also, the information in this video can help you prevent a severe ovarian cyst rupture in the future. Alright, let's get into it. So the first and most common cause of severe ovarian cyst ruptures is a hormonal imbalance. So if you're someone who has an estrogen dominance in your body, which means you have too much estrogen relative to the amount of progesterone in your body, then this can stimulate follicles to grow abnormally. So basically it creates an environment in your body which is good for cysts to grow to a size larger than they're needed. Also, when you have an anovulatory cycle, this means that someone who's not actively ovulating, this also creates an environment for cysts to be able to grow large and then rupture. So when you don't ovulate, this can lead to persistent or enlarged cyst development. So how do you know if you're ovulating or not? You can still have a period and not actually ovulate. I actually just learned this myself. It's called anovulatory bleeding. Anovulatory bleeding. So if you're someone who has a very light period and you don't really have PMS symptoms, or you have a really irregular cycle, this could mean that you're not actually ovulating. You actually ovulate 14 days before your next period, not 14 days after your period. So you need to backtrack and backlog and calculate it that way. You would need to know your cycle length. So my cycle length is 31 days. Your cycle length can range from like 28 days to 35 days. Each woman is different. Another reason you can have hormonal imbalances is because you are having a lot of stress in your life, or you've gained a lot of weight quickly, or you've lost a lot of weight quickly. This can cause your hormones to be out of whack. A thyroid issue, and then another huge one is if you're coming off hormonal birth control. This can literally cause your hormones to do crazy things in your body and become all out of order, and this can create an environment for the cysts to grow large and rupture. Now, the second reason that you may have had a large ovarian cyst that ruptured is because you have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, not able to produce progesterone, and you're not ovulating. So some common symptoms of PCOS are irregular menstrual cycles, facial hair, acne, and also insulin resistance. So if you experience any of these symptoms, you should not rule out PCOS and maybe go and talk to a doctor about that. Third reason you might have had a severe cyst rupture was that it actually was a functional cyst that did not reabsorb properly. Cysts are harmless and resolve. Occasionally you get a functional cyst, like a corpus luteum cyst, that can become large and rupture suddenly. And this is especially common when you're doing very heavy physical activity, and when you're ovulating. So like your ovulation window, you're at higher risk for cyst rupture. So just be wary about that time frame. The fourth reason, and I think this is probably one of the most important things that actually leads to severe cyst and frequent cyst ruptures, is you have high levels of inflammation in your body. The inflammation in your body in a cellular level can actually prevent your cells from working and metabolizing things effectively, as well as prevent your cells from actually taking in the nutrients that they need. You can get chronic inflammation from 4 things. It's going to be your diet, it's going to be from stress levels, from gut issues, and then it's also going to be from toxins. So if you have one or a combination or experiencing any of these things, that can cause the high level of inflammation in your body. This is actually very bad for how our ovaries operate. This can actually worsen the functionality of our ovaries and lead to cyst development. So you really want to look at, have you had high stress? How is your gut health? What are you eating? Maybe a combination of these things is what has led to you having a cyst rupture in the past. The fifth reason you might have experienced a serious cyst rupture is that you have endometriosis or another underlying medical condition. Endometriosis is when growths appear on the outside of your uterus that are from tissue that is similar to the uterine lining, but it's just growing in a place that's not where it's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be growing on the inside of your uterus, but it's actually growing on the outside, and this can cause really severe pain, abdominal pain, when you're ovulating and when you're on your period. These abnormal growths can lead to things like scar tissue, chronic inflammation, very serious pain, as well as frequent cyst ruptures. So if any of these symptoms sound like something that you have, pay attention to that and go ask your doctor, hey, can you test me to see if I have endometriosis? So the second part of this video is dedicated to how you can prevent severe ovarian cyst ruptures from happening to you in the future. So I'm going to give you 5 things you can start doing today to help decrease your risk for a severe cyst rupture, and hopefully you do not end up in the hospital. So the goal with preventing this from happening to you is to 1, balance your hormone, and 2, reduce inflammation in your body. So when we have balanced hormones and reduced inflammation levels, this allows our cycles and our menstrual cycle and our ovulation to function the way it needs to function. So the first tip I'm going to give you to prevent severe cyst ruptures from happening to you is to balance your estrogen and progesterone levels naturally. A great way to do this is to support your liver. Your liver is your detox organ, and your liver is responsible for metabolizing excess estrogen in your body. As I said before, when we have elevated estrogen levels, this can actually inhibit our body's ability to ovulate, and this can create an environment where ovarian cysts can thrive. So one way you can support your liver is to eat cruciferous vegetables, lots of these yummy veggies like broccoli, kale, and cauliflower. Another thing you can do is ask your doctor and discuss certain supplements like DIM or calcium D glucarate, and I'll leave those names in the description below. Another way to boost your natural progesterone is to really pay attention and manage your stress. When we are very, very stressed, our body is going to release cortisol. Cortisol is our stress hormone that gets released from stress. So when we have chronic cortisol levels, it actually inhibits our body's ability to produce progesterone. When we don't have enough progesterone, we're not able to ovulate. So we definitely don't want that. One way to check that if you're ovulating is to get the LH test. This is an at-home test to test your luteinizing hormone levels. Your luteinizing hormone levels would be the highest when you are ovulating. So during your ovulation window, day 14 to around day 17, you can get these tests at the pharmacy, take a urine sample, your second pee of the day, and then test once in the morning and once at night, and you'll see if you have the presence of luteinizing hormone. If you do, then green flag, you are ovulating. If you don't see luteinizing hormone present during this time, this may be a sign that you are anovulatory, meaning you're not ovulating, and this could mean that you have a progesterone deficiency. Another way to support your estrogen and progesterone is to completely avoid all endocrine disruptors. An endocrine disruptor is basically a toxin and that disrupts your endocrine system. Your endocrine system regulates your hormones in your body. Toxins are found commonly in things like skincare and soaps. All these bad chemicals with names that you cannot pronounce, those are most likely have endocrine disruptors in them. One of the most common ones is BPA. I'm sure you heard of BPA plastics being really bad for you. That's because it's an endocrine disruptor. So the things you can do to help get rid of these toxins is switch to all natural skincare products, all natural makeup, all natural soaps, laundry detergents, as much as you can. Try to get the natural version. And another really cool thing you can do is take out plastic Tupperware containers and replace them with glass. So when we actually put hot food in a plastic Tupperware container, it can release the BPA into our food. And if it's in the food that we're eating, it's going right into our bloodstream, and that's horrible, and we definitely do not want that. So the second thing you can do to prevent severe cyst ruptures is to adopt an anti-inflammatory diet. This is so important. More people need to be doing this than we recognize. If you start eating this way, I promise you, you will become healthier. This is the #1 thing that my functional health practitioner had me start doing immediately when I started working with her, was start eating the anti-inflammatory diet. What the anti-inflammatory diet looks like is to just eat whole foods and completely cut out processed foods. A whole food is a food that grows from the earth. It's a food that does not have more than 2 to 3 ingredients. It's a food that generally just comes in its natural form. So this is going to be things like, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. It means that there's no additives to it. It hasn't been processed or taken out of its natural form in any way. So processed food, for example, is going to be things like breads and cereals and cookies and pastas and things that have a bunch of chemicals and ingredients added to them. So you want to steer clear of that. Also want to steer clear of seed oils. Now, not all seed oils are bad. Some seed oils we can have in moderation, like MCT oil, olive oil, and then coconut oil, but you want to completely avoid canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, palm oil, anything that's partially hydrogenated or hydrogenated oil. Completely just do not ingest that into your body. Another thing you want to completely avoid is refined sugars, because this is going to spike our blood pressure, and we want to avoid that at all costs. So refined sugars are things that are in like processed cakes and pastries very commonly. We want to try to avoid those altogether. Opt for the natural versions of sugar, which are going to be fruits. Last thing to try to avoid is dairy. Dairy for most people causes inflammation. So a lot of the times people find that their energy, their digestion, and also like their skin is so much clearer when they stop eating dairy. So the third thing that you can do to help prevent severe cyst ruptures is to start syncing with your menstrual cycle. So this means at different times of the month, you go through different phases of your cycle. They have different energetic demands, okay? You should be resting more during certain weeks of the month than other times, and that's because your sex hormones are fluctuating. So when we start to mirror the demands of our sex hormones with the food we eat, the way we exercise, the amount of rest that we get, we will notice such a difference in our energy. So for example, during our luteal phase, which is the week before our period, we really want to be leaning into getting more rest and eating more carbohydrates to support the production of progesterone. Now, after our period in the follicular phase, we have more energy, right? So we tend to not need as much rest. We can work out a bit harder, and we don't need as much carbohydrates to support the production of estrogen. Estrogen has completely different energetic demands. So when we start living in alignment with our cycles, you'll notice that your energy is just so much better, and this is one of the best, easiest, and free ways that we can focus on balancing our hormones. The next thing you can do to prevent serious cyst ruptures is to go get yourself tested. You want to go test your hormones, see where your hormone levels are at. Go to a medical professional, find a functional health doctor, and ask them to test your hormones for you. You can look at things like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone levels, also the presence of luteinizing hormone to see if you are ovulating. You can also test your thyroid function, and you can also test to see if you are insulin resistant. Now, the last thing that I want you to do to help prevent cyst rupture, this one's super important, something I really need to take my own advice on, is to mitigate your stress levels and focus on rest. Did you know that women need on average 9 hours of sleep? And we need on average more sleep than men, and that is because we have the menstrual cycle. It's a 30-day cycle with different energetic demands. We ovulate, we have the ability to reproduce. Men work on a 24-hour testosterone cycle. We have more energetic metabolic demands. So our body in general just has different demands. We need more rest, and we need more food, and we need more sleep during certain times of the month than, say, our male counterpart. So when we live in a state of chronic stress, this is going to equal more cortisol, which equals hormone disruption. And we definitely do not want that. Some really great ways to manage your stress is to lean into nervous system regulation. These are things that are going to regulate your nervous system and calm you down. This can be things like walking, swimming, cuddling with your pets, meditating, breathwork, reading, really whatever helps you get into that very calm state. Avoid being in a state of stress, of fight or flight mode as much as possible. When you go into that flight or fight mode, your body is literally surging with cortisol to keep you safe. But we want to work on keeping our cortisol at a manageable level. You really want to be prioritizing sleep. I want you trying to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. If this means you have to go to bed an hour, 2 hours earlier, if this means that you have to put your phone in the other room, if this means that you have to ask your partner to not snore or come up with a bedtime routine in order for you to wind down and be able to sleep better, this is really going to help you in so many ways, but especially for the prevention of ovarian cyst ruptures. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you found it helpful. If you have experienced a severe ovarian cyst rupture, I encourage you to leave it in the comments, because I want other women to understand that this is not something rare, that this is something that needs to be talked about more, and it's very, very common. So by you sharing your stories, you can actually help other women try to identify what has happened to them, symptoms they might need to look out for, and also help you connect with people who have gone through the same thing that you and I have gone through. If you'd like to learn more about this topic, I am hosting a free Women's Metabolic Health Masterclass. I'm going to leave the link below to grab your seat for that and sign up for that. Where I'm going to talk all about this, all about cycle syncing, and all about how to get in your healthiest and best shape with keeping your hormones in the front of your mind. Because if we work with our hormones and work with our body instead of against our body, this whole war between us and our bodies is over. Like, the moment we start actually listening to our body is the moment our body's going to respond the way that you want. It's the moment you're going to lose the weight that you want. It's the moment that your PMS symptoms are going to calm down. It's the moment that your bloating is going to go away. I'm going to teach you how to listen to your body. I'm going to give you the information and the tools that you need in order to heal yourself from the inside out. So I'll leave the link below for you to sign up for that. Hope you're having a great day. Please like and subscribe to this video. It really helps support me and my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!